It's finally Friday. It's Friday. Thank God it's Friday.
Welcome back to the Friday show presented by the Breeders' Cup. Hey, it's Breeders' Cup Friday, and we are trying to raise the bar on our coverage of this year's World Championships. We're going to take a look at the Classic. We got a little interview with Larry Colmus, and then some bold statements. I got the whole gang here, editor-in-chief Natalie Voss, Bloodstock editor Joe Nevels, and news editor Chelsea Hackbarth, who's been on the scene all week on her pony. How's it been out there, Chelsea?
Monday, it was freezing. It's been a lot better every other day. The weather is actually beautiful. The turf course looks great. It's going to be a big weekend.
That's good. That's good. Well, we can't look at all 14 races, but we're going to take a look first at the Classic. And this has been talked about as one of the best Classic fields in a long time. I think of the one with Awesome again, and I think that was 98. It was a tremendous race. This is going to be something. But you know what? All those favorites with the Baffert horse and Tiz the Law, I think we're going to see a shocker in this year's Classic. And I'm torn right now between, wait for it, Tacitus and Higher Power. Two long shots. And if they hit the board, and I like Tiz the Law too, who I think is really adapting well to Keeneland. The reason I like Higher Power is he's been there for 5 workouts. And I think that John Sadler and his assistant Juan Leyva know what they're doing with his horse, and his workouts have gotten progressively better. So that's my take on the Classic. And we'll just go around the horn. What do you think, Natalie?
Well, Ray, I mostly focus my coverage on regulation and drug testing and that whole side of the business. So, I think my hot Breeders' Cup Classic take is that you don't really know who's won until the post-race drug tests come back. I mean, have we learned nothing else from this year so far? So I would have to say I would not just be looking at the winner. I would be looking at who else I think could hit the board, because who knows, they could become the winner months or possibly years from now. Dallas Stewart has got a horse in here. He's pretty known for, at least in the Derby, sort of having a surprise pop-up horse get second or third. If you want to choose away from the Baffert trio and away from Tiz the Law, you might want to look at horses like that, because you just never know what could happen beyond this weekend.
But how many times have you written in a story the results of, or the disqualification does not affect the parimutuel payout?
Well, that's true. That's true. I guess it depends on whether you want to be right in the history books or whether you want to cash a ticket. I mean, pretty easy choice there, probably.
Maybe they can have separate betting on it, on whether or not there's going to be any disqualifications.
They should. I'm sure somebody in Vegas would take that, and I would have a lot of fun with whatever those odds would be.
Joe, who you like?
So I want to be right both in the history books and on my betting ticket. But here's where I'm going to drive some traffic to the website. I'm not going to give you any Breeders' Cup Classic picks here. I need you to go to the Haiku Handicapper on the Paulick Report. I've got a horse-by-horse analysis, and I'm not giving up that secret sauce unless you come to the website and read it. What I will tell you right now is that it's 2020 and nothing is going as planned. Go read it. You'll enjoy it.
Joe, you're raising the bar on commercial appeal. I like that.
Oh, no.
All right, Chelsea, you've been out there. You've seen these horses in the flesh.
Improbable looks good on the track, but I got to tell you, the one who impressed me the most was actually Tiz the Law. And Ray, I wasn't on this horse until I saw him in person, but he is enormous, and he does look awesome out there. He's just gliding over the surface. He's doing everything right. I've seen a couple of your long shot picks out there as well, and they also look good, but I just don't think they're fast enough to compete with the top 4. So I think Tiz the Law is going to be my pick.
Barclay Tagg is a seasoned professional. He said it was an easy decision for him to skip the Preakness, not so easy for the owners. But I think it's going to be proven that it was probably the right thing for him to do.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, listen, earlier this week, I had a chance to talk to Larry Colmus about his preparation that goes into calling a race, and also one of his favorite race calls, which almost didn't turn out too well. We'll be right back. So I noticed something on Twitter the other day with some plastic bags. What is it you do exactly to prepare for the Breeders' Cup?
Well, I make flashcards, which is one of the things. The announcers have to go by the jockey silks to identify the horses. It's the one thing that you have that separates them from each other. And I've got all these plastic baggies with the silks in them, and for each race, and I'll just go through as many times as I can. That's so and so. That's so and so. I did it this morning, and like the juvenile turf and the juvenile turf sprint. You're like, now who is that again? I got to go through that again, and it's tougher when you're not quite as familiar with those horses.
Right, and Arthur, you're a stickler on pronouncing the horses' names as they're meant to be pronounced, and there's a lot. Just watching the draw, there was a difference between how Nick Luck pronounced them and how the racing officials pronounced them. How do you sort all that out?
Well, in fact, earlier today, I sent a text to Steve Asmussen about his horse in the sprint. I said, is it Yopon or Yaupon? And he came back, he says, let me check with the owners. And he said, Yopon. So a lot of times that's what you'll have to do, either Google it or ask the connections or try to find someone who actually knows. And I think most of Nick's pronunciations are probably right. But who knows? We'll have to double check on a couple of them still once I get there on Thursday.
You've had some really memorable calls over the years. American Pharoah being one of them at Keeneland in 2015 when he won the Classic. Are there any other calls that stand out in your years of calling the Breeders' Cup on NBC?
Well, the one that comes to mind for me is probably took off about 5 years of my life. It was the 2013 Classic with Mucho Macho Man. I gave him this huge call at the wire.
Mucho Macho Man declaration of war! We'll take charge of Final Man! Mucho Macho Man! He did it over Will Take Charge!
As he beats Will Take Charge and Declaration of War, and I was so excited. It was such a great race, and then they show the replay, and I'm like, whoa, this is a lot closer than I thought it was. So I start to sweat a little bit. They show the replay again. Now it looks like Will Take Charge might have got up on the second one. I'm like, this is just an absolute disaster. The richest race in North America. Did I call the wrong winner of the race? And I'm pacing back and forth and sweating, a white face, and all of a sudden Mucho Macho Man's number comes up on the board, and it was this just utter relief that I actually turned out to have it right. And then I promised myself I wouldn't do that again. And as it turns out, later on at that same booth at Santa Anita a few years after, I did it with Songbird and Beholder and called Beholder the winner, and luckily was right again.
Under the wire, their noses apart. It's Beholder. I think she got her head down on the wire. Songbird, Duggan, gambling all the way. The two of them right together.
So what is your eyesight, by the way? Is it?
I don't know. I've good. It's good for distance, not so much for reading. So so far so good on the tight photos, but I'm gonna try to leave them alone.
All right. Well, good luck on your 2 calls, on your 2 days of calls this weekend. We really appreciate you taking a few minutes.
Thanks, Ray.
This November, the stands here won't be filled, but they'll still be shaking. Don't miss the Breeders' Cup World Championships. The whole world will be watching racing's ultimate international event, November 6th and 7th, only on NBC Sports.
I didn't have Mucho Macho Man the year that Larry did that call. In fact, I don't remember who I backed in that year's Classic. But I usually don't play favorites. So there's a race in this year's Future Stars Friday that I'm gonna take a serious stab at, and that's the Juvenile. I'm not a big fan of horses that have had easy leads, and that's the way Jackie's Warrior has been throughout his career. He's, I think, 4 for 4, never really been challenged. I think he's going down, and the horse that I really like in here, even though he's got really not a very good record in the Breeders' Cup, is Dale Romans, Sitting on Go. The way this horse won, it was off a fast pace, but the way he won the Iroquois, it was around 1 turn, which is another knock on Jackie's Warrior. The way he finished in that race, though, I think he's really going to like 2 turns, and I think Sitting on Go is going to be an upset winner in the Juvenile.
Down the center of the track, Sitting on Go continues to close. There's 1 furlong left. Midnight Bourbon comes away with the lead. Sitting on Go continues to close. Here comes Sitting on Go, who's up for the lead at the 16th pole. Sitting on Go up over Midnight Bourbon and Superstock. Sitting on Go, 24-1.
So we were talking before the show about our hot takes for the Breeders' Cup, and my hot take is not so much a horse, but a event. I think that my hot take is that this year I think we will see more impressive races not in the Classic than we see in the Classic. You know, we've got a pretty well-matched group in the Classic with the 3 Baffert horses and Tis the Law, and it's a pretty even field, but I just kind of think that my takeaway for the weekend is probably going to come from, you know, fierce competition in a different race. I'm really looking forward to seeing Swiss Skydiver and Monomoy Girl face each other for the first time. You know, Swiss Skydiver inspired all of us with her gutsy Preakness finish there, and
Swiss Skydiver looking to make Preakness history. Another filly bounding toward the 16th pole, and here's Authentic on the outside, answering the call head and head and nose. Swiss Skydiver and Robbie Alvarado, they've done it from Authentic. Another.
Of course, I'm always curious to see what the Europeans do in the turf. So my sort of hot take is less a pick and more about, like, I think it's just gonna be a more compelling race someplace other than the feature.
Well, I started trying to pick a winner in the filly and mare turf and the mile, and those two races, the depth of quality in both of those races is just out of this world. I really can't wait to see those two races for sure.
Ray, you kind of stole my take on the Juvenile, but you know what? We're doing this. I'm going to do it anyway. Jackie's Warrior is going to bounce like a rubber check. I don't have any inside information on this. I don't know anything. I haven't talked to anyone. I just have a feeling about this. I've got kind of a Dennis's moment vibe from last year where he showed up as a big, favorite into the race and then showed up and really didn't do anything. I'm getting those kind of feelings off of Jackie's Warrior here. Usually when 2 towering horses come into the Juvenile and the Juvenile fillies, one of them shows up and one of them doesn't. I believe in Princess Noor more than I believe in Jackie's Warrior. Prove me wrong.
I think in a way, you bringing up Dennis's moment is appropriate because the racing gods owe one to Dale Romans for what happened last year. That's why I like Sitting on Go.
Yeah, that's 100% valid. That's the racing gods have a way of paying off past, discrepancies when they do things to horses. And perhaps this is the moment. Personally, I don't like Sitting on Go that awful much. I think the short stretch is probably going to hurt him a little bit, but we'll see what happens.
I'm not sure that racing gods really exist, though.
You got to believe in something, Ray.
Ray, I was going to say, I think I mentioned that on one of our Triple Crown News Minutes this year, and we don't believe in the racing gods here at the Paulick Report. So that's my argument for this week.
Chelsea, I agree. I'm assuming that you agree with everything you've heard.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
You're totally agreeable. So raise the bar on this a little bit. Come on.
So I'm trying to raise the bar with my long shot picks, and I have been looking at the turf, and it's a pretty competitive race. So I'm going to go with another 30-1 long shot on the morning line. I don't know that she's going to win, but I do think she's going to hit the board. It's Medallia for John Gosden, the filly.
Are you pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, it is not Medea. It is Medallia.
I have no idea. There's a few names in here I looked at, and I just have no idea how to pronounce it. Good.
Well, I talked to the head lad, Anthony Proctor, and I've been taking her out myself in the mornings, and she is normally a pretty flighty filly, but I've really gotten her settled with the pony, and she's loving it over here. Her Gallop boy came off the track just beaming this morning, saying he's putting all his money on her. So you got to respect that. Now, it's a tough race, but she's a Group 1 winner. She gives her everything every time. So at the very least, I'm going to play her underneath, and I'm hoping for a big payday.
Well, and all of us surely remember when John Gosden ran a filly in the first Breeders' Cup. She did pretty
that I
good.
also took to the post.
Huh?
That I also helped out in the mornings.
No. I'm talking about Royal Heroine.
Oh, Royal Heroine, not Enable. Okay.
No, the first Breeders' Cup. You all remember that one, right?
Of course.
Totally.
1984.
Yeah, I was -2 years old at that point.
Oh, I'm getting old. All right. Well, listen, thanks for raising the bar. The most important thing is we get through these 2 days safely, and the racing is going to be phenomenal. It always is. I always call it the fastest. The Breeders' Cup is the fastest day of racing. Now it's the fastest 2 days, although some of those Friday races I'm still not that excited about. I don't know. That's my hot take. I'm still not a huge fan of the juvenile turf sprint.
Come on, Ray, get excited about the Washington bred. Get them home. Let's go Bodenheimer.
I'm glad you brought that up. I love underdogs. I'd love to see a horse like that do well. So if that horse wins, then I'll be a big fan of that race.
There we go.
All right. Well, good luck to everybody. We're going to have 2 great days of racing, and guys, we'll see if your bold statements come true or not. Thanks for raising the bar. We'll see you next time.